Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to learn how to play a country blues with a little bit of bluegrass flair thrown in there. And this is something that I'm playing by myself, so you'll be able to do this by yourself. It works on an acoustic or electric guitar, either guitar, standard tuning. And this, to me, is the most rewarding way to play guitar. If you're not singing, if you're just sitting around and you're playing guitar, this is what I do more than anything. And we're going to learn how to take a song structure like this and just sort of improvise. So when I played what I played in the intro, I just kind of improvised it. I did 2 or 3 different versions of it and sort of picked the best one. But I didn't have anything really mapped out. I was just kind of singing with my fingers. That's probably the best way to say it. And it's really not that difficult. It's kind of basic stuff. You strum a chord, you play a corresponding scale that matches that chord, and then you pull melodies out of that and you kind of go back and forth. But it's so much fun to do, and we're going to break this down over 2 videos. So we're going to look at the first half of what I played. I'll show you how to play it note for note. We'll talk about what's going on. If you'd like to join us for the second half and download the tablature and also access the on-screen tab viewer, which is interactive. You have the tab and the video on the screen at the same time. There's no talking. You can loop it, you can slow it down, all of those extra materials for this lesson. You can get all of those by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP580. Okay, so this little jam, this little country blues jam is in the key of C. And it's mainly a C chord and a G chord. It's like the 1 chord and the 5 chord. Now, there is a 4 chord in there. There's an F chord as well, which we'll get to. But it actually starts off with the 5 chord. I just strummed it. Played the G7 chord, and then I went right into it. Into, the little melody part. And so that's the first little tip, is if you're writing a composition or you're not sure how to start the thing, especially if it's an instrumental composition, a safe place to start would be the 5 chord, because the 5 chord is just a tension chord. So that G7, it's telling you it needs to resolve somewhere, right? It needs to go somewhere. So the perfect place to go would be its 1 chord, which is the C. Okay, so that's the first little idea. Now, this melody is coming from the C major scale. So the first thing I want you to do is the C major scale down in first position, where you have the open strings. This was the first scale I learned to play on guitar. It was like this. That's your C major scale, and you're going from this C note, 3rd fret, 5th string, up to this C note, 1st fret, 2nd string. And you can see the chord inside that. If you play that, I can see this C chord. I keep saying the word C, but you get what I'm saying there. So that C chord just lives inside of that little scale there. It's like visually it lives inside of it. Now there's kind of 2, so that's like the meat of it, right? So there's another octave little portion of this, which we'll look at right here, which is... So that's very easy to play because it's between the 1st fret and the 3rd fret, and it's symmetrical. So you can walk it back down. So that's the top part of that little scale. And then the bottom part will come down to this C note, and we'll go and play those notes. So when you put it all together, you've got your C major scale right in the middle there. You've got the top part of that, which is still the C major scale. It's just another octave. It's not the full octave, but it's playing into that next octave. And then you've got this bottom part. So that's your C major scale down in first position. And the reason I'm making such a big deal out of this C major scale is 2 reasons. One, there's all the little fill licks that you can attach to a C chord. Those kinds of things, right? That's right out of that major scale there. And any kind of melody, obviously, that you can pull from that. But the other thing is, those notes from your C major scale are the same notes as your G mixolydian scale. Exactly the same notes. So what is a G mixolydian scale? It's the scale that fits over a dominant 7 chord. So if I play a G7 chord, the scale that fits perfectly over that chord is that scale. That's G mixolydian. Now, how am I able to so quickly just buzz through that scale? Because, and this is the key to improvising, my fingers know where to go in relation to that C major scale. I learned that C major scale back when I was 16 years old, and I've been playing it for all these years. So it's very easy for my fingers to know what to do, how to do that little dance. And when it comes to playing something over that G7 chord, they just do the same dance that they did over the C major chord. Right? Now don't get lost with that. I know anytime we talk about modes, it always causes a little confusion. But just know that the notes of your G Mixolydian scale, which is the same as your G major scale, but you just flat the 7. That's your G major. You flat the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's the flat 7. Those notes that I just played are the same notes as your C major scale. All right, so let's listen to the first part of what I played, and we'll break it down. So I started with the G7. There's your tension. Now let's relieve that tension by going into the C. So you can tell that even before I strummed the C chord, when I hit that C note, that's a relief. Just hitting that one note, you don't even have to play the full chord, but you already just instinctively know that now we're on the 1 chord. So what I played there, this will be on the 1st string. So it's 3rd fret, we go up to the 5th fret, back to the 3rd fret, and then down to the 4th fret, 2nd string, with a little bit of a bend. We slightly push that, so it's not a full bend, just a slight bend. And then down to this C note here on the 1st fret, 2nd string. Now after I do that, I hit that with my index finger so I can put my fingers into position to strum the chord. Now these notes up here that I just played were in the C major scale. It's just another, we're getting into another territory, but it's still the same notes of your C major scale. Except for this note. That note is not in your C major scale, and you can tell it sounds a little weird. And that's because it's the flat 3rd. So that's getting into the blues a little bit. That would be like from my C minor pentatonic scale, just for that one note. But here's how I think of it, and you'll like this. It'll be a little takeaway. If you're playing a C chord, you've got this note, which is your flat 3rd, and then you've got your open E string, which is your 3rd. So when you put those two together, you've got this kind of cool ragtime vibe where you go between the flat 3rd and the 3rd. And when you're playing off of a C chord, it doesn't matter, which one, but this spot is a great place to do that. And then I did this. This is just notes from that C major scale we talked about. Open 3rd string, 2nd fret, back to open 3rd, and then down to the 3rd interval of your C chord, which is, we're playing it here, 2nd fret, 4th string. So after I hit this, strummed it, and then walked it down to this note, which is my G note. So now you can tell that the song has kind of switched to the 5 chord. Now we're back to that G chord. And so we went from the 1 chord to the 5 chord. So to walk that down, I went like this. And these are just notes from my C major scale. So on that 4th string, we have the 2nd fret, up to the 3rd fret, back to the 2nd fret, open, and then we're gonna come down to the 2nd fret, 5th string, and then with my ring finger, I grab the 3rd fret, 6th string. So it's like this. And then I can strum the chord. Actually, I think I strummed it like this. I strummed a G7 chord. So that's where we're at. Then after strumming that G7, I played this. This is just like a little G run. This is a must-know in bluegrass. This kind of thing. There's different variations on it. So after that strum, I played the open A string, and then a quick slide from the 1st fret to the 2nd fret on the 5th string, open 4th string, and then open 3rd string. There's a lot of open notes in this. Isn't that a cool sound? Just connect that little lick to your G chord. So if you're strumming a G chord in a song, you've got this. it's a nice little kind of country blues. Actually, it's more of a bluegrass. They call that the G run. Now the song is going to hang out on the 5 chord, which is our G chord. And I played. Now that's a Jerry Garcia lick. But what I'm playing is it's kind of a little chromatic. I'm basically walking up to here, which is the 3rd interval of my G chord. And what I'm picturing when I say that is my G chord here using the E shape where my middle finger is. That's the 3rd interval of the chord. Right? If you flat it, you've got the G minor. But that's the note I'm trying to hit. So I'm just going to walk it up. It's pretty much like a chromatic walk up. So you have open G, and then we're going to go 2nd, 3rd, and then up to the 4th fret. And then I just strum the chord like that. It's really just the top part of my G chord using the E shape. I notice I didn't play a G7 there. And that's okay. You can kind of interchange them. There's no rules. You can go from a G to a G7. And then I played this fill lick, or it's not a fill lick, it's like a little melody lick. That's the Jerry Garcia lick. So what I'm playing here, it starts, this is on the 2nd string. We're going to go 5. Notice the fingering, I'm using my ring finger for this. 5, 6, 5, 3. These notes are G Mixolydian scale, which means C major scale, right? Like if my C major scale, now I'm not playing first position. Now I'm not down here anymore. Now I'm into this position. So it would be, that's my C major scale. And so these notes that I'm playing from G Mixolydian are in a different position. I'm just pointing that out. So after we play this, we played that little bit, and then this is going into, in my mind, I'm going back and I'm really hitting the notes of this G arpeggio. So I'm going from the flat 3rd to the major 3rd, down to the G note itself, down to the flat 7. So all on this 4th string here, we play frets 3, 5, come down to the 1st fret, to the 2nd fret, and then ring finger on the 3rd fret, 5th string. So when I did this, I was back in my head to the C, right? And you can hear it. Now we're defining the C. So from this G, that little walk down. Now I got that from Jerry Garcia. I can't, who knows what performance or what recording, but I've heard him do that kind of thing quite a bit. He's a very big bluegrasser, and there's no way to love Jerry Garcia without also loving bluegrass, because the two are synonymous. So now we're back at the C chord. I just strummed it. I hit that 3rd fret 5th string, strum the chord, and then a little bluegrass fill, like a little bass fill. I love that. So it starts with my ring finger 3rd fret 6th string, and then we come up to the 5th string and play open 1, 2, 3, open 1, 2, 3. It's just a straight walk up chromatically. Let me do that again. I use that quite a bit in bluegrass. Or if you're going to the G, you can do the same thing but on the 6th string. That's a nice little takeaway. There's your C chord. There's your G chord. Now after that, I played this melody that goes. And so what I'm doing for that is I'm just holding down the C chord, and I really just arpeggiated the chord. I started on the 3rd string, 3rd, 2nd, open, the top 3 notes of your C chord. And then I put my pinky down to hit the next note up, which would be the 3rd fret 1st string, that G note. So it's like this. And then watch this walk back down. So So that's walking down the C major scale. So to do that lick, we're going to start here on this first fret, first string, this F note, and then play open, first fret, second string, so that C note, and then we're going to play open third string. We're going to come down to the fourth string and play 3, 2, frets 3 and 2. So it's like this. Isn't that a pretty sound? Especially if they kind of chime out and ring on top of each other. So after I came down to this, I strummed the chord, just the top part of it, and then watch this. That gets me to my F. So that's just a walk down. Second fret, third string, first fret, open, all the way down to my F note here on the third fret, fourth string. And it's basically just a little chromatic walk down. Now when I played it, I did a little bit of a double stop, so I included this C note here with that walk down, or with the first part there. And then when I came to here, I included the B note. So it's like this. Those two notes harmonize. The rest of it doesn't, but I don't know, they just sort of accidentally happened. Open G string, down to your F note here, and then the F chord. And then after I played that F chord, and that's an F chord using the E shape, by the way, but we're not doing all 6 strings, we're just doing the top 4. I played this little lick that goes. Now that's just a lick that I've memorized off of this chord shape. I didn't even think about a scale. I know if I'm playing this chord shape like this, I've got my flat 7 here, and there's all these little licks you can do that involve your flat 7 to kind of blues it up. And then the flat third up to the major third of the chord. It's that combination of your flat 7, your flat third going to the major third that really defines your chord and gives you that kind of bluesy vibe. So just remember that lick, and it starts there on that third fret, second string. We come up to the fourth fret, and I use my pinky for that. That's the easiest way to do it. And then down to the first fret, second string. So if you're playing an A chord in an A blues, you've got, see how that lick lives inside of that chord shape? So now it's easy to recall it, I guess. Now we're going to walk from the 4 chord back to the 5 chord, and what I did was I literally just walked it up. Remember, your 5 chord is always 2 frets away, this direction, from your 4 chord. So whatever you do for your 4 chord, you can just go up 2 frets and do the same thing, and it'll represent your 5 chord. So I just walked it up from that E chord shape, top 4 strings. But when I did it, I do a little hammer on with my middle finger. And I walked it chromatically. So we hit that fret in between, and then we came up to here. Now we're over the G chord. Then after we play that G chord, I play this lick that goes. And you can tell that brings us back to the C, right? But let's look at this lick. That's a really pretty simple lick. It's just your G Mixolydian scale or your C major scale. Same notes, but we're just playing them here instead of down. We're playing them up here. And so that's what I do is I connect the scale to the chord shape. So if I'm playing off of my E chord shape, I'm playing a G chord, E shape, just like we had that lick that we just learned, I've also got the entire scale. So, and all I did was walk up the scale and down the scale. It wasn't anything more than that, really. So 3, 5, 6 on the second string. We're coming up to the first string and play 3, 5. So now watch this. Little pull off between the 4th fret and the 3rd fret on that first string. It's just a little nuance. Now we're going to walk it back down, 6, 5, 3. Now from here we're going to come down to the third string and play 5, 4. And then from here we're going to jump down to the fourth string. And what I'm picturing now, what you're about to see, is my G chord. And I'm just going to arpeggiate it and play the G note, the third interval, so first interval, third interval, fifth interval of that chord. Those 3 notes right out of your chord shape. So, and then we're going to resolve to the C note. And then a classic kind of blues turnaround walk down. And what I'm doing is I'm holding that C note on the 5th fret, 3rd string. And then on the string below that, the 4th string, I'm going to go 5, 4, 3, while going back to that 3rd string. So you keep referencing that C note. And then I come down to this note, which is my 2nd fret, 4th string. And I hit the C up here now, because it'd be too big of a stretch to do the other way. So that walks me down to here. Okay, so I realize that's a lot of information already, and that gives you enough substance to really understand kind of what's going on and be able to start using this. Now, come join us for part 2, where we'll go over the rest of this, and there's obviously some more licks and some more ideas. And then the tablature would be available as well for everything. So that'd be really, once you understand it from the video, that's probably the best way to sit and study it, is just looking at the tab. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. I always appreciate that. It really helps me know what's working. If any of this is confusing, let me know, and I'll try and clear it up. I do read all the comments, and I try and respond to them all. All right, we'll see you in part 2, where we'll go over the rest.